Last thing is firewall. Okay, now firewall. Firewall is basically a filter. There's a lot of connections that goes through it. And it needs to, not really connections, packets. The firewall filters packets, not connections. Okay. Obviously you get the very easy to set up firewalls, which basically knows what rules to add to filter certain connections. But in essence, a raw firewall filters packets. So whether they belong to a socket or not, whether they're TCP or UDP or what, it doesn't matter. It actually looks at the raw packet. So it looks at what basically goes on in this section, from the session downwards. That's firewall. You do get the more intelligent ones, which will probably open up the presentation level. But mostly the basic firewalls just look at from the session downwards. Okay. So, and you can actually have it on a gateway. So any traffic that runs through it, you can have it on a NAT, or you can actually have it on your end device, on your PC, this sort of firewall. It's basically just filters packets. So if a packet, basically a packet comes in, and it decides whether to drop it, basically destroy it, or actually let it carry on with its course. Reach the application or gets forwarded to the next gateway or to the end device. Okay. So firewall is actually pretty straightforward. It's just a filter to decide when to drop it and when to let it through. What we can also set up is the blacklist and whitelist. Wait, before we get to that, is the filters you can add. The filters you can add is the direction, which typically is actually the source and the destination. So you can say, allow everything from this source subnet. Or you can say, allow everything from this destination, or to this destination subnet. You can say, allow anything on this port range. But then there's the opposite, where you can blacklist and whitelist. There's usually a default. So you either have a blacklist firewall, or you have a whitelisted firewall. I'm not sure which way around it is, but basically the idea is that if you have a blacklisted firewall, everything gets blocked. And you specify what must be allowed. Okay. A whitelisted firewall is the other way around. Everything gets allowed. You specify what gets blocked. Okay. So firewall is usually set up in one of those two ways. It's either blacklisted or it's whitelisted. So if you, the one we have here, for instance, is a blacklisted firewall. So we deny all connections. And then we say, cool, okay. For packets going to these destinations, we allow them. Packets coming from these sources, we allow them. Certain port numbers, we allow them. Certain protocols, TCP, UDP. You can be very specific. You can say from this specific subnet, this port range, and this protocol allow it. So it's like an and. So if it comes from the subnet and it's this port range and it's this protocol, then allow it. Okay. And obviously there's a pass-through and a forward, a forward as well. So you can actually, in a firewall, let's see on the gateway, you can actually say, is this packet going to this specific PC, or is it going to this gateway to be forwarded? You can actually add that as a rule as well. It works with queues. I'm not 100% sure why it works with queues, but yeah. Basically there's an accept queue, a reject queue, and a forward queue. And then you pass, with the filters, you pass it to another queue, and it goes through another set of rules and stuff like that. I've never actually seen the point of it, but it's probably because I've never actually set up a firewall that extensive. So that's basically a firewall. In Linux, you can actually check your firewall. It uses IP tables. This is the rawest form of firewall you can have. This is very raw. This is not easy to use. It's command line driven. You can just type IP table space -VNL, and we'll print out your firewall rules. Most of the time, I think the default in Ubuntu, all the queues will just be clear and use the whitelisted server. So a whitelisted firewall, so basically everything is allowed. There's no rules. Okay. And yeah, that's firewalls. Is there any, I just want to think if there's anything else in firewall. Yeah, there's actually something, some of the, obviously like the firewalls I said, actually goes into the presentation layer. The more high-end firewalls, then you can block certain sites and certain types of requests and all sorts of stuff like that. And you can block certain protocols. You've got a bit more control, so you've got more options, not just this. But yeah, that's basically a firewall. Okay. Any questions? You guys understand this? Fine? Cool.
Yeah.